I do understand the all or nothing approach. It's much easier to abstain completely than to try to learn how to be moderate. But that's the real discipline, isn't it? Moderation. I did a previous video about fear of hunger. I was always afraid that being hungry would lead to a binge. Once I started eating, that I wouldn't be able to stop. And that's addiction for you. That's why alcoholics don't have that one drink, because it will lead to the next and the next and the next. With food, well, we have to eat to live. An addiction is when something is more comfortable and soothing and is just so much easier than experiencing the difficulty of feeling uncomfortable in the now. So I taught Buddhism tonight in class, and of course we talk about the now being the only real thing. That's what Buddha taught. The past is a memory that we don't remember accurately because our ego wants to prevent us from experiencing pain in the future. And so our memories might highlight something that harmed us or something that was uncomfortable or painful that we need to avoid in the future. Or the past that we do recall is influenced by our desires to see things a certain way, to be consistent with the previous way of thinking, because the ego doesn't want to be wrong, constantly trying to prove ourselves right. And the future hasn't happened yet. So what do we have? We have now. The only real thing, that's what the Buddha said, was in this present moment, to be completely present. Addiction is trying to shut off what's so uncomfortable in the present moment by reaching for the thing that's going to give us pleasure, that will help us switch the channel on what we're feeling. Guilt, envy, despair, exhaustion. And so our addictions kind of function to help us avoid the most uncomfortable feelings. But I know, and I've always known, that in order to consider myself healed, to have actually overcome an eating disorder, means to be able to take 1, 2, 3 bites, whatever it takes to just be full, sated, and not keep eating out of a desperate need to be distracted, soothed, comforted. I think in my book, Diary of a Fat Girl, I think I talked about how overeating is like a hug from the inside, and binge eating is like punishment from the inside, because the pain of overeating is so much more easy and familiar than the pain of just being. To be in the moment, to be in the now, to feel whatever we're feeling in the moment, especially regret, sadness, shame. I talked tonight in class about how shame is not a part of religion. Now, it might be part of ritual, but it is not at the heart of any of the world religions to feel shamed. What makes something religious is to be in touch with the supernatural, something that's above and beyond the physical, something that talks about what happens after death. But shame is something that needs to be eradicated, eliminated. And a good way to do that is to just be present in the now, rather than measuring up this moment and how we are feeling in the moment against some ideal way of being. In the present moment, we can allow things to be as they are and then not grasp onto those feelings by judging them. See, that's how we keep the now, and it turns it into stuckness. The idea that, oh, I'm so ashamed that I'm feeling this feeling right now. Oh, I'm so ashamed that I'm hungry, and I'm ashamed that I want to overeat and soothe with food. That's not being in the present moment. Judging, shaming, that's attachment. It's grasping. I showed a clip from the film Peaceful Warrior, where the Nick Nolte character, Socrates, tells the Dan Millman character, who's feeling ashamed because he felt, when he heard about it, Dan Millman was a gymnast, a world-class gymnast, who said when he heard one of his teammates was on the disabled list, the first thing he thought was, oh, that'll increase my chances of getting on the Olympic team. And he felt so much shame about thinking that. And Socrates tells him, the things you think, the thoughts that your mind kicks up like that, don't tell you anything about yourself any more than a freckle at the end of your nose defines you. We are human and we have light and dark emotions. To shame ourselves for a thought we don't like is what keeps us attached. It keeps us attached to the thought. It anchors it. It's like wrestling with something. When you wrestle with something, you grab onto it and you fight it. And what we resist persists. So I just got home from work. I'm not sure what I'm making for dinner. I might just opt for some cheese and some leftover turkey. No, not turkey, chicken. I don't have turkey in the house. I have chicken in the house. And it's always my hope that I'll have a few bites until I'm full and then I'll stop. That I won't be in such a state of despair and regret over how I fell short over the course of the day, where I have to turn off my thoughts and feelings. If that means I have to distract myself with something, a podcast, articles, whatever it is that I try to fill my head with to keep myself positive and knowledgeable, that I'll opt for that rather than to eat to the point of discomfort. I think I can do that because I talked about it, and you know how I am about keeping my word and how I am about integrity and living the way I say I live. The power of now. One of the students brought up Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. She's like, have you heard of him? I'm like, yeah, I've heard of Eckhart Tolle. I like the New Age writers because they take ancient wisdom and make it very understandable for the postmodern, modern, present day reader. But there's nothing New Age about New Age. It's old age. It's ancient wisdom. And I think we can benefit from ancient wisdom. So whether you're getting it from a New Age book or you're studying the Lotus Sutra or the Dhammapada, it doesn't matter. As long as you're learning and learning about yourself and definitely not beating yourself up for being less than perfect. Remember, I think it was Winston Churchill who said, the perfect is the enemy of the good. Well, someone said it, and then he repeated it. And now I'm repeating it. Because there's nothing original, there's nothing new under the sun. At least that's what I've heard. All or nothing. Sometimes we call that splitting in pop psychology terms. Or it might be regular psychology. The idea of all or nothing, like Somebody disappoints you and it's like, that's it. I'm not talking to this person ever again. Well, that's just our ego's attempt to prevent us from feeling pain again in the future. Just recognize that. To know the self is to know the world. We're not stuck with the way we were 5 minutes ago. We have the opportunity to recreate ourselves new, to be born again in every moment. We are pure potential, but we get stuck in old habits. Habits of thinking, habits of being, because we think that's who we are. Well, who are we really? We are potential. We are spiritual beings having a physical reality. But we have to remember who we are. And no shame. And don't try to be perfect. Strive to be excellent, strive to be better. But trying to be perfect will lead to sadness and disappointment because we're not perfect. Nor do we have to be. I also taught EAR tonight, effort, attitude, and response. Those are the 3 things that we have the most control over about ourselves. The level of effort we put forth, our attitude. In that movie, Facing the Giants, the coach says, your attitude is like the aroma of your heart. Are we positive, negative? How are we interpreting reality? And that's our attitude. And how we respond, how we behave, how we act. Just because we acted a certain way yesterday doesn't mean we have to do it now. We can make new choices in the present. And that goes for our approach to our health, our eating, our behaving, our studying. We're not our past mistakes. Be born again in each new moment. I know I say it. I have to practice it. It's a skill, but I'm working on it. Not perfectly, but I'm working on it. So be well. Don't beat yourself up. It's a waste of energy. And just have an attitude of gratitude in the present for all the nice things you have. For a mind that can sit and watch a video and learn a little something. I'll see you tomorrow with another video because I said I would. Take care.